happy Wisdom Wednesday, beautiful people. Thank you so much for choosing to spend some of your time with me. I'm Maria Milagros, and this is a little space I like to carve out called Wisdom Wednesday, where I share tips, tools, techniques, nuggets, stories, anecdotes to help us move the needle to get us to those spaces where we are healthier and happier, whatever that means for us at this time in our lives. So today I want to talk about procrastination because it has been a theme with a lot of the younger people that I've been working with lately, and even with some of the older people. They don't necessarily want to say out loud that they've been procrastinating, but that's really what's been going on. So I want to share with you 5 main reasons why we procrastinate, and then give you a tip or two for each of those on how to overcome that particular challenge so that you can get over the hump of procrastination and get on to getting it done, whatever it is, right? So the first main reason why people procrastinate is because they look at the project or the thing or whatever it is, and there's no passion about, connected to that thing, or they're not super excited about doing the thing. So it's just easier to put it off because I'm not excited about it. I'm not passionate about it. I can just put that off, right? That makes sense. So that's really about mindset. The second reason why people tend to procrastinate is because they are really unrealistic about the amount of time that they have. Right? So there are people who will look at the project coming up or say, oh, I have plenty of time. I said I was going to get that done by the end of the month, and I have plenty of time. And they do the plenty of time so much that then it catches up with them, and then they turn around and they have no time, if any at all, right? The third reason, and that's really more about time management and breaking down the project. The third reason why people procrastinate is because they're a little bit perfectionist, or a lot of bit perfectionist, and the idea of doing something wrong or not having enough information to do it perfectly literally makes them freeze to the point that they do nothing at all, because they'd rather do nothing than to not do it perfectly the first time. We're going to talk about that. And then the fourth reason why people tend to procrastinate is because they look at whatever it is as this really big, giant thing. And if I walk into a room and the whole room is a mess, like the Tasmanian devil went through there, and it is scary, it's much easier to just close the door and pretend like the room doesn't exist than it is to start tackling that room, right? And to clean it up. So sometimes when we see it as too big, it feels like I can't. I'm just going to put it off. And then finally, and this one is, I feel like this one is really important for us in terms of, all of them are important in terms of self-awareness, because when we know why we're doing what we're doing, which of those reasons, those main core reasons are why we're procrastinating, we can then apply the tip or the technique. This last one, though, isn't so much about applying a tip or a technique. It's more about being honest with ourselves. And sometimes we take on projects or responsibilities or things, and we procrastinate because the truth is that thing is not a priority in our lives. And right now, at this time in our lives, it shouldn't be. And we will play this mind game where we're like, I have to do that thing because everybody else is doing it, or because that's the thing I'm supposed to do, or that's the checklist, or whatever. And it's truly not a necessity or a priority in our lives at this time, but we waste a lot of mental space and energy thinking about it. And then we say, oh my gosh, I'm procrastinating, but you're actually not. It's just not a priority. So when we are aware to acknowledge, you know what, that's not a priority in my life right now. That's not where I'm at. That's not what I'm working on. That's not where I want to put my time and my energy. And so I'm just going to let that slide to the very bottom of the list. Maybe I have a dream list and I just add it to that dream list and I'll get to it. It's just not something that should take precedent in my life right now, right? And that just provides this kind of exhale freedom to release this idea that you have to keep this thing on your list that then you feel like you're procrastinating about, and then you're beating yourself up because you're procrastinating, and then you have shame around procrastination. Just be real. Is that a priority? Period. If it's not a priority, put it on your dream list, walk away. Just focus on your priorities. If it is a priority, then enough is enough, right? It's time to make our priorities a priority and stop making excuses. We're either making excuses or we're making time to get it done. So let's go back. If the first thing is if we're talking about the first thing and you're not very passionate about something, but you know it has to get done. I'm not super passionate about doing the accounting for my business, but it has to get done. So in order to make it so that I don't procrastinate and put it off to the last minute, what I did was, one, I actually created like a schedule in my phone. I use my technology to help me. Use your technology. And every month I have a money date where I sit down with myself, and I call it a money date, right? I think I might start calling it a wealth date, calling things that are not as though they are. Anyways, so I put in my phone an appointment for myself, and then I let everybody in my life know, and by everybody I mean whoever lives in your house, on this date and this time, every third Thursday at 6 o'clock, I'm going to sit down for an hour and a half or whatever, and I'm going to do my money stuff for my business. And that way, everybody around me is on notice. I made it an appointment. I made it a priority. And then when the time actually comes, my job is to sit my booty down and get her done. And what I have is on my computer, I have a playlist called my money playlist. And it has a lot of songs about money, and it has just a lot of fun, upbeat music. Because for me, that, like, I love music. I love the way it makes me feel. I love the energy that I feel in really good, upbeat, empowering music. And so when I'm listening to this soundtrack and it's singing about my money and I'm thinking about my wealth and I'm thinking about getting my money in order, it doesn't feel like a chore anymore. It feels like I get to do this thing. I don't have to. I get to help sustain my business, to help pay attention to my money management, to help continue to build my business, right? So I want you to think about if that's the case for you. If it's like, this doesn't feel like I have a lot of passion about it, can you schedule it to make it an appointment that you have to do? Not everybody loves going to the dentist, but you should be going every 6 months for a checkup to take care of your teeth, right? So like, make it an appointment like that for yourself, and when the time comes, be about it. And then ask yourself, how can I interject more fun, more play, more ease, more flow into this thing that I have to do so that it's more like something I get to do, right? So that's for the first one. The second one was, it's really about time management. And we could talk about time management. Literally, I have 2-hour workshops about time management. But this is really about priority management. So the same thing. If you feel like you have a month to get it done, I would break it into pieces and put it on your calendar so that when the alarm goes off, you see it and say, oh, that's coming up in a month. Okay, let me get started. And all you have to do is get started. The best way to combat procrastination is action. The best way to combat fear is action. The best way to combat anxiety is action. The best way to combat depression is action. Do you see where I'm going? Taking action in the opposite direction helps create change, and it helps create momentum and movement away from the thing that you think you need to overcome, right? So you put an alert in your phone. If I'm giving a talk in a month from now, I set it up so that in 4 weeks before the talk, I get an alert and it says, start building the skeleton or the outline of that talk. So I start doing research. I look at the company's core values. I look at the company's mission statement. Maybe I've already had a call with that company and I have some notes. I start putting it together and really start letting my brain get into the mindset of preparing for, right? And then 3 weeks before, I get an alert. If I hadn't already sat down and started doing it, now the alert reminds me, pull all that stuff that you did, sit down, start writing it, right? Build it out. 2 weeks before, I start creating the slides. A week before, I create the worksheet. That way I have a week to review, to go over my slides, to make any tweaks that I need, to finish, tweaking my worksheet. And then when the day comes, I'm ready. Now, I used to wait till the night before, and I'm like, until 5 o'clock in the morning, take a 2-hour nap, get up and go teach with a pounding headache, not feeling well, and then immediately thereafter would have